oh my God, my phone's ringing so much, I need to hire 3 more employees. We grossed 1.8 million in revenue. And it started as a joke, returned our investment probably close to 200,000%. I spent thousands of dollars on and got nothing, but it was worth every single penny.
Okay, welcome back to the 8-Figure Podcast, and we share stories here about the HVAC industry and the trade. Meet Amber DeLong from DeLong Sons HVAC out of Shoemakersville, Pennsylvania, and in 5 years, she and her husband Justin have grown DeLong Sons from two-person shop and side hustle, I would say, in a company, in a business already, with a lot of customers and with more than 400 reviews already in the Google Maps. So this is very exciting. And Amber, welcome to the stage. Yeah, say a couple words about yourself, how you see your company. Introduce how you usually introduce your business, yourself. What did you start actually, and where you're at right now?
So, my husband started the company about 5 years ago. He started it after working for a lot of 2 large private equity companies in the area we live in. He really had no room for advancement. He had the title of the manager with all the headaches of a manager, but without the pay of a manager. And one day he came home and was like, if I'm going to have all of these headaches, I might as well own my own business. And it started as a joke. We joked about it, and I was like, well, we'd have to come up with a name. What are we going to call it? And he was like, we're going to call it DeLong Sons HVAC because we have 2 boys. And I instantly fell in love with the name. And I was like, okay, this is something we need to figure out how to make happen. So for probably about 3 to 6 months, he was doing it part-time. He was running calls when he would get home from work at night. So, the days got very long. I was working full time in corporate America, and we were very lucky that one of our family members who owns his own business was willing to help us get started. With his help, we started. Justin went full time. About 9 months later, we hired our first employee in 2022. And he has been with us since then. He did some part-time work for us on the weekends when we would have installs that we needed, but then he went full-time in 2022. I was still part-time until 2024. So I would come home, I would, check the emails, do the paperwork, run payroll after I worked a full 8-10 hour day at my corporate America job.
Wow.
By January of 2024, I had injured my knee and injured my hand. And the company I worked for kind of pushed me out the door. And we were like, well, I guess this is just one swift old kick for me to go full time in the business. So I went full time in January of 2024, and it really took off from there. By June of 24, we hired another office staff, another employee, to the point that now here in May of 2026, I have 10 employees, 6 trucks on the road, an established service department, an established install department, and then we're slowly starting to expand to plumbing. And this last year, we grossed 1.8 million in revenue. So we went from literally nothing in 2021 to $1.8 million in 5 years with 10 employees. We are from small town Pennsylvania. I'm about an hour and a half north of Philly, but we have a lot of private equity companies that we go up against. So we decided that when we started our company that we wanted, not only obviously family is in the name, but we wanted our employees and our customers to feel like they are members of our family. So we stuck with that brand. Family matters over everything. My employees, if they have a family situation, that comes first. Our customers, we want them to feel like they're members of our family and their aunt, uncle, sister, brother, cousin is coming into their house to service their system with what they need. So we've really built our brand on that family values, which is refreshing because it's not something you see here. And it gives us an edge over the competition.
I think that's an amazing story. And I think you already answered my next question, because I wanted to ask, like, right now, what is the biggest difference between you and other competitors? And you said that you have PE companies, PE-owned companies in the area. So how do you see right now as a professional already? What's the difference between you and them?
So not just our the way that we lead our company and structure our company, but so we lead family first and we make sure all of our customers feel like family. I am a huge process and procedures person. So all my employees follow the same processes and procedures. So everything is being done the same from job to job to job. They have checklists they have to fill out regularly. But then on top of that too, we're also partnered with a lot of great companies, which allow us to extend things that most other companies can't. So we're partnered with a extended warranty company called Cool Care. So we're actually able to offer extended warranties on systems we didn't sell as long as they aren't older than 2 years. And those extended warranties cover refrigerant, which there is very few extended warranty companies in the HVAC space out there that will cover refrigerant. Usually it's just the part and the customer's paying for refrigerant. We have different partnerships with companies like that allow us to offer things that other companies in our area either don't or can't.
Cool. And what are the other players? Are there huge and big companies, or it's plus minus the same revenue as you have?
There's huge big companies that do probably triple, quadruple the revenue we do. But then there is a decent amount of smaller companies, family run or 1-2 man operations. And we kind of fit right in between that. We're able to offer some of the services and products that the PE companies can, but be a little bit more flexible with scheduling because we have more manpower than some of the 1 and 2 man operations in our area.
Got it. And for those guys who are thinking of starting the business, or they are somewhere in the beginning, do you remember the numbers which you had during the first year and the second year and the third year and until now? I mean, the numbers in terms of revenue and maybe people, maybe even profits, because I'm sure that you need to play with the net profit and with EBITDA in order to make it real.
Well, and that's probably been our biggest struggle. And in all the conversations I've had and presentations I've given, I've never been shy that our net profit and our pricing has always been our biggest struggle, because you're trying to make sure you're cheaper than the PE companies, but those PE companies have the ability to spread their overhead across so many more employees than what my little old company can. So, and then you have the smaller companies who don't have the overhead we do, and their pricing is ungodly cheap. So I want to say we didn't do a full year technically in 2021. So we were probably only about maybe 200,000 in revenue that year. But then 22, I want to say we did probably about $500,000. 24, we crossed the $1 million mark. And then 25, we did 1.8. So we've steadily been growing probably around anywhere from 200 to 800,000 each year. And we did have a couple really large commercial projects that helped us, cross that threshold. But the biggest struggle for us has always been figuring out our pricing. Even now, it's actually a project that I'm still actively working on and figuring out, what should be going into a loaded labor rate? How should the overhead be split between departments? What is solid pricing? Okay, if we're a little higher than XYZ company, why? And what are we including that those companies aren't, that we can justify, the price difference between us and somebody else? That's still something that we're building upon even now. I feel like pricing and profitability is the hardest part to get dialed in and figured out right as a business. We aim for a net profit margin of between 15 and 25%.
That's a good number.
As of late, we've fallen into that range more than we have been in the past. So I know we're getting real close to having those numbers dialed in, but I still have some playing around to do. And obviously in business, things happen and you're always something is gonna go wrong somewhere, that not every job is gonna be perfect. But if we can get that pricing dialed in a little bit better, we'll be set. And I'm so close. I can taste it. But I still have some data analytics and other things I need to do to get that 100% dialed in.
What can you recommend for those guys who are not doing 15 or 20% or like in this range? If they're doing 6% in net profit, and they definitely they do something differently than you do, right?
The biggest thing that was an eye-opener for us and that I recommend for everybody is business coaching. That gave me the tools that I needed to be able to figure out a lot of this stuff. I did take a business coaching class through my supply house, It gave me the basics, but it was a 2-day, 8-hour course, so 16 hours total, that they were throwing so much information at you. And you didn't really have the tools to put that into effect. It was up to you to figure out what you needed to do to make those tools. So we've been on Housecall Pro since we opened our business in 2021, and they have a really great business coaching program. I took that in 2024, shortly after I went full time. And it was eye-opening. They really walked you through understanding your financials, dialing in that pricing, figuring out where you needed to be profitability-wise, but then they gave you the tools you needed to figure that stuff out. That was the biggest thing that helped me. And now that I have those tools and can dial it in, I literally live on AI. I'll pull reports or use the documents that I got from business coaching, throw them in Claude and have Claude analyze them, and then figure it out from there. If there's anything I can say, that the two things that have helped us the most is business coaching and figuring out how to properly use AI.
That's awesome. Everybody uses. I don't know. Maybe not everybody is using AI right now, but everybody should use AI, definitely.
Yeah, and every AI has its own niche per se. Like ChatGPT, I know I'm only ever going to use that if I'm trying to write a document or write an email or a text message. It's really the best for wording. If I'm trying to create an image that I'm using for marketing material, I'm going to use Gemini. Everything else, I'm sticking in Claude. And I've actually taken it to a point where I've built different add-on databases that I can use on top of Housecall to kind of keep things a little bit more organized and centralized for the things that Housecall can't do. So as you learn, you can figure out what else you can do. And then you go down the Claude rabbit hole and suddenly you're up at 3:00 in the morning coding a app for your technicians to request PO numbers. It definitely is a spiral, but it can really help your business, whether it's pricing and profitability or operations.
What about the Claude? Does it have already the access to your CRM, or it's not there yet?
With Housecall Pro, depending on what plan you're on, you do have access to the Max plan, which gives you an API key, which you can plug into Claude and be able to automate some of that stuff. But that's definitely not for beginners. And even now, I'm actually working on a project right now that I'm using multiple API keys, from Housecall to Google to Firebase. So it spirals. It becomes once you figure it out and you figure out how you can simplify your life, then you start going down the rabbit hole of API keys and webhooks, and then suddenly it's 3:00 in the morning and you're in your office because you're trying to finish a project you started 2 weeks ago.
Amazing. Amber, let's get back to the easier things. So for those who are still playing with some starting and beginning stuff, do you remember what was the channel or the main channel for your first clients to land?
It was all word of mouth and Facebook. We're very, very lucky. Between Justin and I, we both have large families. So all those family members were out, sharing posts on social media. Once we kind of got a little bit of a footing behind that, we started with Google LSA, and we probably built a good 45% of our customer base off LSA back in the day, which we managed 100% on our own. I turned it on, turned it off when I needed to. I made sure that all the services that we were offering were on there. But I want to say it was probably 2022, maybe 2023. We were working with our salesperson at our supply house, and they were introducing us to being a dealer for certain manufacturers. And we decided to sign up to be an Allied dealer, and Allied falls under the Lennox umbrella. And as a part of that dealer partnership, we got a credit with a marketing and media company called Red Barn Media. And you could use that credit that you get with them for any of their services. So we had them at the time take over just doing our Google My Business profile and responding to our reviews. So it was just kind of one less task off our plate. And eventually as we saw how great they did at managing some of our social media content and managing that Google My Business profile, we eventually expanded it to include, they redid our website after we rebranded, but then they also took over our LSA. I don't know what the folks over there at Red Barn put in their special sauce with LSA, but they do something, and they do something right, because the quality of our leads we were getting from LSA really changed after they took it over. I have no idea what kind of voodoo magic they do, but when we left them take it over, it was no longer just tire kickers, coming through LSA. We tried the Angie's List and the Thumbtack and all that stuff, and it was just a disaster and a money pit that we probably wasted thousands of dollars on. So if I have any recommendation to that, is work with your supply house sales representative to see if there's any companies they recommend or dealer programs that you have the opportunity for, and really lean heavily onto Facebook, whether that be just, reposting your stuff. We get a lot of it from Facebook community group where, you're already sitting on your phone scrolling social media. And if you add all those community groups on your personal page, anytime you see HVAC, somebody, asking questions about HVAC or plumbing, you can tag your business page. And then suddenly you're generating leads that cost you absolutely nothing. And you're doing it while you're scrolling social media anyways and wasting, precious time that you could be putting on your business. It kind of kills two birds with one stone.
Okay, so the LSA and the Google My Business first, then Facebook. This is powerful, and I understand that not everybody uses that. And I heard in the other podcast you were saying about these groups in Facebook that it works very well. Yep.
Yes, and the other thing that really worked well for us was when we rebranded. We had when we started, we worked with a local company that did like logo designs. And we went with the usual HVAC logo. It was a sun and a snowflake, just like every other HVAC company that you're watching roll down your street. After about a year and a half, 2 years, our sales rep was like, you need to do something to set yourself apart. You need to rebrand. And we ended up going with a company called Kongify. And Kongify is who did our logo that exists today, the polar bears and the DeLong Sons HVAC.
I love it. I love it.
And I know I saw you when I think it was AHR and and ACA in Vegas. And we actually have these obnoxiously loud polos too that we wear for special occasions like that. But our vans are wrapped in that same imagery from our logo and our polos. And that investment that we made into that rebrand probably has returned our investment probably close to 200,000%.
Wow. How did that work? How did you feel that?
The phone started ringing off the hook. And, when you ask somebody, how'd you hear about us? Well, I saw your van rolling down the street or I saw your van parked at my neighbor's house, or I'm very consistent. Once we rebranded, I'm very consistent with making sure that anything I post follows those brand guidelines. So they might see my van rolling down the street, but then they're going to see, an ad somewhere that has the same imagery that they're like, oh yeah, hey, I saw that van down the street from my neighbor's house the other day. And then when we tied in the website overhaul with it, now suddenly I had the tools where customers could book online or send me, a request for an appointment from our website. It went from a simple rebrand of something you really wouldn't think generates you a ton of money to, oh my God, my phone's ringing so much, I need to hire 3 more employees because they saw my van driving down the street. It's all been measured in how they heard from us or heard of us. That a lot of the times it's, I saw your van down the street and it caught my eye.
That sounds very good. This is how you really, when you rebranded. And by the way, where did you get this idea from? From the coaching, from the training, or
it was actually our supply house representative. So we work with a local supply house that's not, they have, we're in Pennsylvania, and I think they have some branches in the tri-state area. So like Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. So it's not a big chain like that. And we're very, very blessed that we have a fantastic sales representative that not only is invested in making sure we have the equipment and materials that we need, but he's also invested in growing our business. And he was like, he was on my husband about setting ourselves apart in not just what we offer, but how we look. We had looked into a couple different marketing companies that could make logos, and a lot of them were very expensive. Or the one local one we worked with just wasn't meeting. We weren't vibing on what our vision was. And we stumbled upon Kongify from a video, I want to say, of another HVAC influencer. My guess is probably Jason Walker, but I could be wrong there. But my husband was like, we should check into this. And here, Kongify had kind of just started their own business. So they were incredibly reasonably priced. The work that he put out was a bazillion times better than what I could have ever expected or dreamed of. I'm not a cartoon logo person. I was totally against it. And I had told him that when we did like our first meeting. And he's like, well, I'm going to give you both. I'm going to give you a word mark and I'm going to give you a cartoon. And I guarantee you're going to like the cartoon. And we got our first version of it. And I was like, oh, yep, I need that cartoon. Because it really depicts exactly what our business is. You know, my husband and our 2 sons. It just resonated with me. And I will hands down say it's the best money I've ever spent in our business.
Do you remember what was the budget for that, for the rebranding, roughly?
We ended up probably spending right around, it was just under 10 grand. So it's half of what, you know, some of the larger branding companies. But that included the logo with a whole branding guide. So I have like the hex codes, I have the names of the font, I have everything that I could need to be consistent across any sort of document I'm doing. And then it included the design for our polos, the polos that catch everybody's eyes. And it included our truck wrap. So he designed the truck wrap that we could wrap everything in what he created. And then we got like social media profiles and some social media stuff we could use. But the budget was about 10 grand. And I think we came in just a hair under that. But it was worth every single penny.
Did you hear about this strategy for the trucks branding? So track branding as a billboard, track as a billboard strategy. So this is exactly what you used after the rebranding, right?
Yes. Yep. And then we actually did a small billboard campaign here locally. That was the one marketing avenue that did not pan out well for me. And the one marketing avenue that shockingly has panned out well is regular USPS mail, mailing a flyer to
direct mail, right?
Direct mail. No, and even like letters to our customers, like a newsletter. I didn't realize how many people still actually don't just throw mail away and actually open it up and read it.
Was it for the lead generation or for just normal back and forth communication?
I've done it both ways. So being an Allied dealer, I get so many direct mail campaigns a year that I can use, and those always do really well for us. But then I also every quarter try to mail out well, I don't do it. My customer service, I create the newsletter. My customer service representative sends out all the envelopes, but I try quarterly to send out like a little newsletter to our customers. Or if we're scheduling service plan visits and we haven't heard from them, whether it's through call, text, or email, usually when I mail them the letter that says it's time to schedule, I will get a phone call and I'll be able to schedule that appointment. I was shocked when we had such a good turnaround from regular postal mail because I mean, I don't know. If it looks like junk mail, I'm not opening it.
I'm sure not everybody is doing this. So thank you for sharing this thing about the direct mail and the mail communication. Let's talk about the lead generation right now. What other channels you have in place except those which we already discussed? Or what did you try and it didn't work, or it worked very well and you didn't expect as with the mailing?
With us, before we got connected with Red Barn Media, because they manage my SEO now as well, we used quite a few different SEO companies that I spent thousands of dollars on and got nothing. You know, we're going to move you up the Google list. Well, I did not get moved up the Google list. Make sure you're vetting the companies that you're willing to work with. Don't just, go based off their Google reviews. Find another local contractor, or in the case of people on Housecall Pro, go to the Facebook group and ask, hey, have you ever used this company? Because the amount of money you spend on lead generation that does not work, I probably could have bought two more vans by now if I hadn't sunk so much money into SEO companies and did not work. When it comes to current lead generation, other than LSA and Facebook community groups, those are actually the only two ways I really kind of advertise.
Let me pause here for a second. When I started talking to HVAC owners, I realized that most of the real insights are not on YouTube yet. There are inside conversations like this, and this is why I'm documenting everything I can. If this kind of content is valuable to you, hit that like and subscribe. It tells YouTube to show you more of it. And we will keep going deeper while building our HVAC American dream together.
And about the SEO, you said that you are doing this right now. Do you consider this as an investment, or you still expect that leads will come in through the SEO channel?
I still expect that the leads come in. Right now in Pennsylvania, it's like 90 some degrees suddenly. So I have my LSA turned on, and I think as of like 8:30 this morning, I was 6 Google leads deep for the day. For LSA leads, I should say. So it does work. It's not the cheapest way to get leads, but typically, and again, whatever Red Barn puts in their magic really produces more quality LSA leads for us.
Do you know, could you share how much do you pay for the LSA leads? Because why I'm asking, and let's zoom in a little bit, because a lot of LSA within HVAC trade, they just started working and they stopped then, or they didn't start at all. And this problem I hear a lot in the market. How did you make it work in the beginning when you started it yourself? And yeah, and actually any details which you have right now as like how many leads, how much do you pay for them?
It was, I want to say, so I had mine turned off for a little while because we were overwhelmed with calls. We probably pay anywhere from $25 to $75 a lead, depending on if it's service or install. I don't watch it as closely anymore now that Red Barn handles it. But back when it was my responsibility, I just knew that it was kind of a business expense that there was no getting around. If you wanted to keep your schedule booked, you were going to keep it turned on and you were going to pay for those leads, and hopefully they were quality leads. Google's made it a lot simpler since then, that you don't have to go in and dispute a lead that didn't pan out properly. So if you tried LSA, within the last 5-10 years, and it didn't work, I would say give it another try now, because Google has made it much, much, much easier. And I don't know whether it's Red Barn that did something special or if it's just Google making changes, but the quality of leads has seemed better. Like this morning, I had 4 LSA leads by the time I got into my office, and I scheduled all 4 of them. And I know the first one we ran this morning, amazing, they upsold on. So the quality seems to be better. And now to me, it's just one of those business expenses that exist, whether you want to pay for it or not. It has worked better for us than Angie's or Thumbtack or Yelp or any of that stuff has. So it's kind of been my tried and true go-to, that if the schedule starts getting a little light, I can put the, LSA on and know my schedule's going to fill up real quick.
What would you recommend? Do you remember if you rated those leads, or what in terms of the weekly budget? Do you make it higher? Or
I was always told to, as long as you can sustain the flow coming in, set your weekly budget as high as you possibly can. I want to say in the beginning, I had it set to like 10, 20 grand a week. We never touched that, thank God. But I was always told when I was running it, the higher you set it, the better, because you're going to get more, they're going to push more leads to somebody who has such a high budget set. I never have gotten close to that. The most I probably spent was $500, $1,000 a week. And a lot of, for instance, this morning, I think the lead that came through this morning was probably a $35 lead that they upsold almost $500 worth of work on. So the trade-off there to me is worth it. So I was always told to set your weekly budget as high as you possibly can. Don't be afraid to be very aggressive with it. I don't think I've ever gone in to rate the leads that I get. Back in the day, I would go in to simply dispute them. But now that Google got rid of that dispute feature, I don't ever, once Red Barn took over, I couldn't tell you the last time I actually signed into my LSA. I let them handle it. I don't know what they do, but they do it well. And I just, that's their thing. I just deal with the leads when they come in.
Yeah, at least it works. So let's then move to the sales process. How does the sales process look? When you get the leads from different sources, referrals, Facebook, LSA, Google Maps, and you having these leads, where they come to, and do you have a dispatch team, or you doing this job, or like what's then next?
So whenever they come in, they typically come into the office. And right now my office consists of myself and my mom. She's my CSR. Hopefully she watches this, but I really truly would be lost without her. She is the first line of defense. And she takes every phone call as they come in and schedules them. And then I do have a third office staff that sometimes floats in and out when things get really busy. And typically the two of them try to take all the calls and schedule everything, whether it's an estimate or a job. Right now, since it's just me and my mom, we're kind of mom. If she's on the phone, I'll pick it up and schedule it. But I try to focus more on the operational tasks now that we're as large as what we are. But they'll go into our CRM, and luckily for us, Housecall integrates with a lot of the different lead sources. Like my LSA all comes right into Housecall, that I everything's all in one place, that I'm not bouncing from tab to tab to tab to try to manage it all. So it'll come in, we'll look at it, and we'll schedule it within Housecall, one of us, whether it's my mom or myself. Then we'll dispatch it to the appropriate technician, whether it's service or estimates. If they're estimates, they go to Justin. We schedule them as an estimate in Housecall, and then he goes through his sales process. And then if it's service, we have a whole separate process for the service department too.
And those leads which are going to Justin for the estimates, are there from the very beginning they know that they need a new system, or you just...
Typically, when they come in as an actual estimate from the gate, we classify those as new systems. So I'll only go out and do a free estimate for somebody who's willing to consider replacing the whole thing, whether that's a furnace, a boiler, AC, mini split, whatever the case may be. They have to be interested in replacing the whole system for it to be a free estimate. And then Justin will go out, he'll do his sales process, which sometimes can take up to 2 hours, depending on, how many questions he's asking the person, taking sizing measurements, building out. We do multi-option estimates, so he'll build out a multi-option estimate in Housecall. And as long as he has the ability, he'll go and show that estimate to the customer while he's there. But if, let's say husband's not home and wife doesn't want to make a decision, we'll email the estimate, and it's, got it a pretty option 1, option 2, option 3. And then once he converts it to an actual sale, it converts to a job and then gets dispatched to our install team. I have 3 installers that go out and they do all of our installs.
Do you have any specific metrics which you follow that the conversion from the leads coming in for installs?
I'm a stickler with that. I love KPIs. So I have different KPIs for each different department that I try to track weekly. Lately, with everything else that I've been doing on the side, I have not had time to track them lately, and it's driving me insane. But for estimates specifically, I track how many estimates he gave, then how many of those were approved, how many are declined, how many are pending, because his close rate shouldn't be affected by the fact that 10 customers haven't been able to make a decision. So I track active, declined, and pending to get to his close rate. And then I also track how many he sells an extended warranty on, how many he ends up closing that are using financing. That way we can track, are more customers financing right now, or are more customers paying by cash, check, or card. And then just because I am a stickler, I track whether or not he put notes in the system to tell me how long he has the job bid for, or what extended warranty he sold with it. And did he upload pictures or videos for the installers? That's something most people probably would never track, but I do. Because I like to see that he's following my processes and procedures.
Of course, and this is 100%. It's supposed to be 100%, right? I mean,
it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be,
and it's not.
No, and I have no problem. We do regular company meetings where I show, every department's KPIs, and I have absolutely no problem making an example out of him that all of the employees see that, okay, this week I call it Housecall Pro compliance, that he only had 70% in Housecall Pro compliance, that they see that he's technically titled the president of the company, that they see the president, the owner, with not 100%, perfection in a field. So I have zero problem making an example out of him in that case.
Got it. And what is the booking rate, the target booking rate for this kind of funnel for estimates?
His target is, because he is still working in the field a little bit, doing service, his target estimate is, I like to see 3 estimates a day. So that would be 15 estimates a week. It would be the booking rate. Right now, this week, it's not nearly as high because it's been so hot, and I only have 2 service technicians. So he's been running service the last 2 days. because of how warm it's been and how much of an influx in service calls we've had.
Got it. And how many of those, let's say we have 10 estimates, you have 10 estimates, how many of them you want to win? So what is the winning rate for the estimates, or how you call it?
His typical close rate hovers between 50% and 65%.
Out of estimates, right?
Out of estimates, yes, which is very good. He is not a pushy salesperson. So he is, and I think that's what people really like, is he's not pushing, you need to make a decision now, right?
I read that in the reviews in your Google profile. And I see that they really like that the sales process is very soft, you're not pushing them. And
the companies so Justin and actually every single one of my field employees all worked at one of the two private equity companies in our area that Justin worked with. And they were both very sales oriented. Like, you close that deal at the table. And none of them were the biggest fan of that. So we've kind of adopted a much less aggressive policy in that if, the wife doesn't want to make a decision because the husband's not home, that's okay. Our estimates are good for 30 days. If it takes you more than that to decide, that's fine. We'll look at the pricing, see if we need to adjust it for whatever's going on in supply chain at that time. We're not pushy salespeople. We don't push it down their throat. His close rate one week might only be 30%, but the next week, when those customers from the previous week got to sit down and think about it, he'll convert those. In a month over month, his close rate could be between 50 and 65%. But if you're looking week to week, it might not be as strong each week, because we're not going to shove a sale down somebody's throat just to get it.
Let's talk about the business fundamentals. It's more or less clear right now. So you started, you worked 2 jobs, and you started step by step. And right now you have a system in place already. You have the lead generation. You have the sales process, not ideal, not 100% as you want it to be, but still you have this in place. What about the partnership? Because
I have me and my husband, and me and my mom, and then my mother-in-law works for us too. So
who are the partners? You and
me and Justin. Me and
Justin are partners, and the rest.
And then we have family members on each side of us too. His mom works underneath him. My mom works underneath us. When it comes to our partnership in the business, Justin and I, luckily, we're very different people, but we complement each other well. So where I am not strong, he is, and where I am strong, or where he is not strong, I am. He is not strong when it comes to processes and procedures and making sure that everybody's following the same steps and processes. I am. So I enforce those things. And once I went full time in the business and kind of started implementing, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, you could see that our process evened out a little bit and improved. He is much better at, obviously, the physical trade. I have never spent a day in working in the field and have no intentions to, but he's really good when it comes to explaining the technical side of things, whether that's to employees or to customers. He can explain that in a way that anybody's going to be able to understand. He is much less reactive than I am. So when I get frustrated, he is calm, cool, and collected and can bring that back down. So even though we are polar opposites, we work very, very well together and complement each other in the best areas possible.
But do you understand, do you feel that really you're husband and wife at home and you're business partners in the office or in the business?
So our office is currently in our home. So there really is no divide. We're getting ready to move into an office space outside of our home. We started trying to take a day or a week away from the business, whether that's me taking one day and him taking another, to do, stuff that is not business related. That lasted about a month. And then we kind of changed it that each quarter we try to take some time away. And then I was very lucky enough that the folks over there at Housecall asked me to travel to trade shows. And even though we were there working together at the trade shows, it was still like a vacation and a step away from the business. And luckily, we can step away because we have such a great staff underneath us that if we decide on a random Friday that we want to go do something, just the two of us or just in the kids, now that summer's coming, we can do that without having to. So a good 80% of our conversation probably stems around the business, whether it's business hours or not. But we do take the time to kind of counteract that too.
That's so good to hear that. Yeah, and I wish you that you'll feel the same in the future. About the goals, if we're talking about the goals, how far you want to go with the company, and what is the like overall goal? If you're building a family business or you want to make an exit and sell it to a PE somewhere in the area.
I have no intention to sell to private equity. Our goal is we want to keep it in the family. We have two boys, one's 15 and one's 11, and our 15-year-old is so far the only one of the two that have expressed interest in the trade. And he was actually just recently accepted to tech school or to VOTech that he'll start next school year. So he'll go to HVAC tech school in the afternoon next school year and start learning that. So, and over the summer, he also he's an instructor and does Taekwondo so when he's not teaching over the summer, he's going to work for us in the field too and start learning the field. He actually already has his OSHA 10 certification too. So he's already like 2 or 3 months ahead of what most of his classmates will be in the fall. So the goal is to give our kids the business, kid or kids, depending on if the other one comes around. He's still young enough that he's convinced he's going to go play in the MLB. So he's still not young enough to think about long term. Right now, it looks like the oldest is the only one who's taken an interest in it, but the goal is to give it to one or both of them.
Got it. And do you think that you're going to be in the same location, or you'll be somewhere in different cities with your sons, and or just
thinking now, I think we'll be in the same relative area. I don't see us expanding to different larger cities, but you never know. I never know. Depends on where the kids' lives take them from there. Right now, we take care of 4 counties around us. So we do have a decently sized territory. I'd like to say I don't see my kids moving, and taking the business elsewhere, but they're still young. So
yeah. Did you calculate any numbers on what you think your business will look like in 5 years or 10 years in terms of revenue and trucks and the team?
No, because we're kind of at a point where I know I need to hire. I could probably stand to hire 2 more employees and get 2 more trucks. Now that we've kind of dialed in that pricing a little bit better, we want to, build up some of that profit a little bit longer before we start building even farther. We really don't have the desire to have, a massive, 25, 30 trucks on the road with that many like our goal is not that size. We'd like to be a little bit bigger than what we are now, but not private equity size, if that makes sense.
Got it. And to wrap this up, I mean, the marketing and the business growth, what would you recommend to those guys who are somewhere below 1 million in revenue and maybe one-man show or one-man shop with 1 truck or a couple of trucks? If you would recommend actually going beyond the 1 million and more, and what actually would you recommend to start with to focus?
I would say start with business coaching. That was a big turnaround for us. And if you're not ready to commit to business coaching, or you're not ready to, or you don't have the extra cash to sink into business coaching, try to find a mentor. That's one thing I like to pride myself on is I'm very involved in the Housecall Pro community. And I spend a lot of time working one-on-one with different business owners. So I know when I would have been in those shoes, I wouldn't have had the extra money to pay a mentor or a business coach. So I try to offer any insight and what I can, because I know not every small business has the funds to stick into that. So if you can't do business coaching, try to find a mentor that's preferably in the same trade that you are and preferably on the same software that you are, because they know what you're going through day in and day out. If they're in the same trade, using the same software, kind of following the same procedures. So if you can find a mentor that could potentially take away from business that you might not need business coaching right now, but I highly recommend starting there.
Got it. That's a very good recommendation. Definitely all the time learning, and even with you and your husband on the every stage of your business development.
We're still learning.
We're
still learning. Yeah. We still make mistakes. Not every day is perfect. There are definitely decisions I would have done differently if I knew what I know now. But depending on where you're at in the country and where you're at in your business and what kind of software you're using. For anybody that is on Housecall Pro, their community is second to none. That is the best part about them. You know, they have a whole community team of employees within Housecall. And then you have the actual pro community. I think on the Facebook group, there's 30,000 pros in it. So you have 30,000 people that you can bounce ideas off of, or that might have made the same mistakes you are, or might be able to offer you some advice that you never thought of. And with them, they are always listening to what we're saying and updating their software with what we need, not what is trendy in the market or what they think we need. They actually take the feedback from us, which is why I've never considered switching, why I go, to trade shows and run workshops for them and webinars. They actually listen and care about us as a pro and what we need. So if you're not using a CRM, I highly recommend Housecall Pro. If you are on another CRM and you're looking for a mentor, I always recommend trying to stick with somebody who is using the same software as you, because they can kind of help you better than somebody who's using something totally different.
I have an idea. Let's talk about in the separate video. Let's have a short conversation about the operations and CRM and all this stuff, which really may be helpful for other guys.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up this session. And a couple of words or some good luck words for all the listeners from your side, and we will start then the next one.
Sure. So I hope that this podcast resonated with somebody, that somebody out there just either started their company or is growing their company, and that something that I said sits well with you and helps you grow your company. Because at the end of the day, that's why I do things like this. If I can help one business owner, I fulfilled my quota for the day. So hopefully you learned something from this, and I'm sure that hopefully we'll connect in the future. And I wish every business owner the best of luck, and that they are not ripping their hair out today.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber, for sharing all the data, all the information, all your experience. Guys, if you like this kind of content, hit the like and subscribe. And if you have any other questions to Amber, make sure that you write them down in the comments below, and I will pass it to her so she will come and comment back to you. And in the next episode with Amber, we will go through the operations in more detail. We'll zoom in into the CRM, and we'll share more useful information, valuable information for you. So stay tuned and see you in the next episode. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks for watching. This channel is about real HVAC business, real numbers, and the journey of building the HVAC American dream. If you're on that path too, hit that like and subscribe button. And let me know in the comments below where you're at right now. So let's chat in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode.